There's a specific guilt that only exists at night. It hits when you glance at the time, and it's 1:47 a.m. The house is silent. Everyone else is asleep. And you're the most awake you've felt all day. Somewhere in the back of your mind, a quiet voice says, "I should sleep." But you don't. Not yet. Here's what that guilt never tells you. Staying awake when the world goes dark isn't weakness. It isn't laziness. And it isn't just a bad habit. According to circadian biology research, what's happening inside your brain at 1 a.m. is genuinely measurably different from what happens inside someone who crashes at 10 p.m. Your brain is not broken. It's running on a different clock. And that clock has a name, a science, and a psychology that most people never learn, because most people are already asleep. In the 1990s, a German chronobiologist named Till Roenneberg studied something most scientists had ignored. Why do some people feel alive at night, while others are sharp at sunrise? He surveyed over 500,000 people across Europe. What he found changed sleep science permanently. Human beings don't share one internal clock. We exist on a spectrum, from extreme early birds on one end to extreme night owls on the other. And this spectrum isn't a lifestyle choice. It's written into your biology, your genes, your circadian rhythm, the 24-hour system that controls when your brain releases melatonin and when your cognitive performance peaks. Roenneberg called this your chronotype. For true evening chronotypes, the biological signal that says time to sleep arrives hours later than it does for morning types. Your melatonin doesn't surge at 10 p.m. It surges closer to midnight, sometimes later. This means when a morning person feels genuinely drowsy and ready for bed, you are biologically, neurologically at your most alert. You are not fighting sleep. Sleep simply hasn't arrived yet. But chronotype alone doesn't explain everything. In 2014, a Dutch sleep researcher named Floor Kroes at Utrecht University was studying people who knew they needed sleep, people who set their alarms, planned their mornings, and still stayed up until 2, 3, sometimes 4 a.m. What she found wasn't a sleep disorder. It was a protest. She called it revenge bedtime procrastination. When your day belongs entirely to other people, work, school, family, a schedule someone else designed, your brain begins treating nighttime as the only territory that is genuinely yours. The world goes quiet. Notifications slow. No one is asking anything from you. And in that silence, your brain finally exhales. This is why one scroll turns into 90 minutes. This is why the most honest thinking you do all day happens at midnight, when no one is watching and nothing is required. You're not avoiding sleep, you're reclaiming time. Kroes found this pattern was strongest in people with high daytime demands and low personal control during waking hours. The less autonomy you feel during the day, the more fiercely your brain protects the night. But the same night that feels like freedom is quietly building a debt. Roenneberg also identified what happens when your internal clock and the external world fall permanently out of sync. He called it social jet lag. Think about actual jet lag. You fly across time zones. Your body thinks it's 3 a.m., but the clock says 9 a.m. Foggy, irritable, concentration fractured. Now imagine that, not after a flight, but every single Monday morning. Because your biological clock says midnight is evening, but your alarm says 6:30 a.m. is real. Roenneberg's data showed social jet lag affects roughly 70% of the population, with night owls carrying the heaviest load. evening chronotypes show statistically higher anxiety and low mood, not because something is psychologically wrong, but because chronic sleep misalignment disrupts the hormonal systems that regulate emotion. And then there's the pattern every night owl recognizes, the midnight spiral. The day keeps you busy enough to stay surface level, but the night, quiet, still, unstructured, lets the deeper thoughts surface. Worries you didn't have time to feel at noon arrive at 1 a.m. with full intensity. This is not weakness. This is what happens when a brain that needed processing time all day finally gets silence. Here's the framework that makes this all visible. 2 clocks are running inside your life simultaneously, and they are never fully aligned. Clock 1, your biological clock, set by genetics and melatonin timing. For evening types, this runs 2 to 4 hours behind the social standard. Clock 2, the social clock, work at 9, school at 8, a world built for morning types. When these align, you feel rested, sharp, capable. When they don't, you spend your most productive biological hours in a meeting and your most alert evening hours feeling guilty for being awake. The solution isn't forcing clock 1 to match clock 2. It's closing the gap, gradually. Morning light exposure to shift melatonin timing by 20 to 30 minutes over weeks. Protecting real downtime before 10 p.m. so your brain doesn't need to steal it from midnight. And most importantly, stopping the self-punishment. A night owl who sleeps from 1 a.m. to 9 a.m. and gets 8 solid hours is far healthier than one who forces sleep at 11 p.m., lies awake until 1 a.m. anyway, and gets 6 fragmented hours while feeling like a failure. Your chronotype is not a character flaw, it is a biological fact. So the next time you're awake at 1 a.m., when the house is silent and your brain is running at full clarity, know this: you are not broken, you are not lazy, you are someone whose biology runs on a different schedule, someone whose brain learned that the night was the only time it could truly be itself. That's not a failure, that's information. And information, unlike guilt, you can actually do something with. Drop one word in the comments, owl, if you've accepted your night rhythm, or trapped if your schedule is working against you. Because the comments on these videos always show me something research alone can't. How many people are quietly carrying this exact weight alone at an hour when no one else is watching? If this gave you language for something you've always felt but never quite named, share it with one person who needs to hear it. And if you want to understand more about how your brain's hidden systems shape the way you think and work, subscribe. That's exactly what this channel is here for.